Yes, it's another great day today. Today we're continuing on our M365 study series, and today we, continuing in the topic that we started last week, which is exchange online, and today is the part 2 of that session. So I believe for those that are that were able to join the last class, we have actually been introduced to Exchange Online. We were, shown how to, get users and assign them the license that is needed to have mailboxes and all of that. And just so for those that maybe you're here and then you were not around last week, let me just give like a brief introduction to what Exchange Online is all about. Okay, before I proceed, my name is Deji Omitola, and I am the host for today's um, event. I'm going to be coordinating this, and then I'll be working alongside with our trainer, who is Solomon Jeremiah. I'm sure most of us already know Solomon Jeremiah. He has been one of our top trainers since the beginning of this series. So he's going to be doing all the technical trainings today. I'm not the trainer, but yeah, let me just give a little introduction to what Exchange Online is for purpose of those that did not join last week. So Exchange Online, is a part of Microsoft 365. Is a service in Microsoft 365 that majorly deals with our email. So it's majorly about emails in and out of the organization. So like other services in Microsoft 365, like we have the Teams, we have the SharePoint, we have OneDrive, and all. But Exchange is peculiar to emails. Yes. Uh, can we please mute our mics? Yeah, so that we can all hear ourselves. So as I was saying, Exchange is all about emails, uh, emails in and out of the organization. So I'm sure a lot of us in our various places of work, or at one occasion or the other, we've had official emails. So when you send emails and email drops, a lot of things happen in the background. A lot of things happen in the back end. There are needs for investigation at times, that emails get missing, emails are deleted without authorization, and then you need to find what is missing. So those are the things that majorly as an exchange administrator, it is your duty to be able to trace all of this. So um, let me not go into the training. I will just allow Solomon to take it off from here, and I believe you're going to have a wonderful session today. Just some quick housekeeping rules. Let us please mute our mics, and if you have questions, you can uh, pen it down. At the end of this session, we're going to have opportunity to ask questions. And also, I would like us to share the link with our colleagues, our friends, that you also know that this might be beneficial to them. You know, so let us do that while we before we begin. So, Solomon, I believe you're ready for us.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Solomon Jeremiah, and let me just turn on my camera. Sorry about that. Yeah, my name is Solomon Jeremiah, and today I would be continuing with the part 2 of Exchange Online, as we were talking before. We've been on this series for some time, so I would continue from what we've been learning with Joshua. And when we are talking about M365, right? From the intro, we could remember we have the Exchange, we have the SharePoint, we have the Teams, and we can also go to security compliance. And Joshua took us through the Exchange Admin Center. We're able to go through the Exchange Admin Center. So today I just want to give like a briefing about Exchange, the Exchange, right? He spoke about the Exchange, and I think we'll be doing the mail flow after this. But what I want to be talking today is just basically about migration. So for this migration part, right, I will tell you the best I can tell you for today. And what I would like you to note is you have to be familiar with Microsoft documentation because there's a lot involved when it comes to migration. I will do a demo today for IMAP, but migration is more than just the IMAP when we are talking about carrying out migration in Exchange. So me, I do it, but if you tell me to still do it today, when you probably tell someone like, okay, can you just go and create a transport rule? Basically what I'll just go and create it, right? Or you tell me you can create a user or create something, right? I will just go and create it. But if you tell me, oh, this migration, I will just first of all and go and get documentation and open and say, okay, what has changed, right? Because a lot is involved, not like a lot to scare you, like depending on what you want to do, you have to think of requirements and all of it. So today, because of time, I would not want to take like our time because I need to just do a simple migration. So I'll just try to touch the surface, right? And of each of them. And if I do that, what you can do from your own end is to try and just read about it and understand what um, the whole stuff is all about. So before we carry on with the migration and the exchange, right? One thing I would like to do is to just show you what exchange server look like. It's not, I will still explain it. Let me not just, so I'll just show you what exchange server look like so that you just see the way it looks like so that I can explain better when I start talking of, when I start the conversation that we have today. So we know generally from what Joshua has been telling us that exchange is we can send emails, and when we send this email, we can actually understand what is happening to them during transmission because we have mail flows. We can choose to control the mailbox size, the contents of the we can check the mailbox size for users based on the license, right, that we are giving to the user. We have exchange plan 1, exchange plan 2. We can create different types of mailbox in terms of shared mailbox and other stuff, right? If we have issues, we can actually use Mailflow to do message trace to know exactly where's our message, where did the message get to. We can as well set transport rules. We can also go to remote and accepted domains, right? We can do all of that with Exchange. And we saw all of that on the Exchange admin center from M365. That was what we were seeing, right? When we were having the conversation with the training with Joshua. So today I would explain just one of the, will I say, the side menus in the admin center, right? But before I do that, let me share my screen now, and so we can just see what this looks like. Yes, this is the screen. So if you look at this screen, right, you should be able to see this VM right here. So if you're looking at this VM, now this is, you'll see is very, is how would I, it's, it has same look with, this, the looks are almost similar with the exchange online. If you look at this now, if I come here, right, you can see that if you probably use the classic exchange, I think the classic might look more similar, but the difference is not really that much, right? So basically this, what I'm showing you now is Exchange server that I installed on my on-prem environment. Now, if you probably try, this is the admin center, right? And this is the Outlook, right? This is OWA. Now, I want to just see if I can pull up another server. Now, if you look at this, this is a server before I pull up the next server, right? And then I installed the Exchange server on the server. Now, I installed this Exchange server. For me to install these Exchange servers, there are some prerequisites that I need to go through. So if you want to probably learn Exchange server, you can, but for you to install it, there are a lot of preparations you need to do, just like the same way we're trying to say, okay, we want to install AD Connect, we have to meet some prerequisites. So that's exactly what will happen. When you've met all those prerequisites, you can install your server. Now, this server was, the Exchange server was installed on another server because I have my DC that has my Active Directory users. So this is another server that has the Exchange server. And this folder here, I kept it open because you can see I have my mailbox database. This is my database for my mailbox. And I think I have more than one. Yeah. So you can see I have different mailbox. I could create database for my mailbox. Now you remember online, I don't have to go through the stress, right? Microsoft is managing all of that for me. Now, if you look at this mailbox, right, it's showing not secured. I've not installed any certificates on it. It's just there. This emails, right, that I created on the admin center, this is the admin center, right? You can see I have users created and you can see their email. If you send this email from the outside, you'll get an error. It would not work and I can't send email outside because I've not configured it. And for me to configure it, because I'm creating a server in my environment, first of all, I have to set up the MX the same way that we did with M365. I have to set up the MX record, and when I'm done setting up the MX record, I also need to open my ports. Now, we have different protocols on the internet. We have SMTP, we have HTTP, that's for websites, and HTTPS for secured websites. If you're trying to go to a secured website, that's the protocol it will be using. We also have FTP for file share, and then we have SMTP. Now, the SMTP is responsible for mail flow. It is responsible for just sending an email, like the mail that is going, that is what it's doing. And when it is sending this email, for anything to happen in your computer, if probably you want to share file, go to the website, there's a port that is telling your computer that this thing is coming through this port. And the fact that it's coming through this port, it is for file share. The fact that it's coming through this particular port, which is, one of the protocol is HTTP. It says, oh, it's coming through port 80. That is for websites, right? For SMTP, we have a port called port 25 and 587. I always confuse this with 487, but I think it's 587. It is 587. So we have port 25, and most people, they use 587 to allow mail to flow outside from their Exchange server. Then you can also test it on Message Analyzer. I don't know if Joshua showed us Message Analyzer, but it's something that we'll still do. So we can also test it there to confirm if it is working. So why I'm explaining all of this is I've not done that. So any email I'm sending is only going to work within my internal network, but I can send email. Think about it. If you have an organization, you have the network, you have your computers, and all of them, they are all set up, and you just want to send email within your organization, you can use this. You just control your email. Nothing is going out. Now, why I'm saying this is, if you look at this, I have this user, I have this user, then I'll pull up my second server. So this is my second server here. Let me pull it over. Now, this is my second server. Now, this server is actually my domain controller, right? But then you can see I logged into OWA. Now, this is not the Outlook on the web kind of view that you always see with M365, right? This is Outlook Anywhere. That's what they call it. I don't know if the name has changed, right? But now, if you look at this, I sent an email from this admin because this account, the admin has his own mailbox and is also the admin, just the same way that you can have an admin in online on exchange online, and then the admin can also be exchange administrator if you take off the license. But yeah, I'm not doing, there's nothing like me assigning license or anything. I'm just creating the users based on what I want. And if probably I have a user in my Active Directory, I can just go do create new user and it will pick, tell me, do I want, I'll show you that's right. But now what I just want to talk is the email. So if you look at this email now, I send this email, I just do hi Elon, right? And I sent it from the administrator. So the administrator sent it from his own Outlook. I don't know if this is, let me just sign into this, please, real quick. I think this should be what I use. The password should be this. Okay, so now this is the admin, right? Okay, I think probably I send this email to myself. So let me see sent email. So this is the sent email. You can see I sent it from this admin. I won't send to France and Spain. These are the emails I sent. But now this is just working between myself, and you can see the other user received this email. So this is okay. No, this is the admin center. I can call me and as well just say I want to create new user. Okay, I want to create a user mailbox. So if I'm creating a user mailbox, you'll see it will tell me existing user, new user. So if I see use existing user, this is actually browsing through my Active Directory. You know, we've spoken about Active Directory, right? It's browsing through my users. So I can pick a user that doesn't have a mailbox, and then from here, I can just create a mailbox for that user with the Exchange server. And that's exactly what the on-premise Exchange look like. So we have the groups. Joshua also spoke about the resource contacts. Like you can see, everything is all there. We still have migration showing here also, right? So, but now the migration we are talking about is the migration that is in this part of the Exchange M365. Now, when we want to provision mail Exchange, right? Why I just did this is so that you can see that we can actually provision our Exchange for online use. That it will just be online user when we are provisioning our Exchange. Now, everything we are doing, we are dealing with the user in Exchange, managing license, everything is going to be happening in Exchange. And then we'll be using Outlook to connect to our clients or Outlook on the web, right, to send emails. But if we have on-premises Exchange, right, and we set up hybrid environment, right, what hybrid does for us, it would enable us to have both features from the on-prem and the cloud. Now I can be assigning license to users. I can just be having that mixed usage where I can manage my users here. I'm also seeing my users in the cloud. So that's what hybrid gives us. It gives us the ability to connect our messages, right? Our mail flow. So if you look at this connector here, once we set up hybrid, you'll see that you have a connector here. You can route your messages to pass through M365 to on-prem, route it back to the cloud. So now that I've spoken about how we can provision our Exchange server, our Exchange online, and I don't want to confuse myself with words, how we can set up our Exchange, right? We can set it up in M365 online, give it license, use everything as cloud only. We can as well use hybrid, which is a combination of our on-premises environment and our Exchange online. So we can use hybrid. But what I want to talk about today, which I will try to be on point. When I say on point, is I just want to see how I can cover what I have to cover and do what I have to do. So this is where I'm coming. All this long talk I've been talking, right? This is where I'm actually coming to, is this migration, right? So this is one migration that's I did here. So this is what I want to do, right? This particular migration. So most times when I'm going for to speak, right, like maybe I have an event that I'll be speaking, right? I don't really like when I want to do demos, I just go there and I'll just do the demo and I'll tell myself if anything happens in this demo while I'm doing it, right? If I make a mistake, I would I would it would be a mistake that I'll never make again. That's one thing I always do when I'm going for demos. But for migrations, I just know that things always change. And if anything changes, something will go wrong. So I had to say, let me just test this particular migration before coming on to this event. So this particular migration is what I'm going to do. But before I do this particular migration, right, I want to explain the different types of migrations that we can carry out. So when we are talking about migrations, right, there are different ways we can migrate. And when I say migration, it simply means we have, just like now, you see that I have my users on-prem and they have their mailbox and all of that. How do I move them to M365? That's exactly what the whole migration is all about. How can I move my user to M365? Or it's not just from on-prem, or how can I move the mailbox content of another mail provider or an email that has its own server somewhere to my M365 organization. So I can choose to say somebody is using Gmail, right? And I want to move the content of that Gmail to a user account that has a mailbox. Yeah, I can do that instead of just saying, okay, I want to copy the PST files and all of that. PST is still a way you can do that, right? But we have interface in M365 where we can do it. So how can we move the content of our mailbox? How can we move our mailbox with the users? How can we do all of this is what this migration is all about. So I'm going to just click here, right here, and I will just okay, let me just look for a slide instead of coming here because I will still come here. So let me look for a slide that I will just present. This slide is not recent, but I hope everything is fine with it. So this is a slide that I just want to pull up, right? Let me play this slide. So I will just go do an overview of the different migration, then we will then come back. So now this is the slide I'm talking about. So let me minimize this so I can have some space. Oh, Idris, your camera is on. I don't know if you know about that or it's a mistake. Okay. I'm just trying to. Okay, yeah. So these are the different types of migration if we are talking about migrations. And now when we are talking about this migration, right? We need to understand some of the stuffs that are guiding them, some of the rules we need to follow, right, when we are using each of these migration. Now, if you look at this particular slide that I'm showing you, you can see one of the migrations on that slide that I just showed you is what we call the IMAP migration. So that's what we will do, right? So for this IMAP migration, you will see the outlines under it is that it supports a wide range of email platforms. So now when we are talking about it supporting a wide range of email platforms, right, you would notice that Gmail supports IMAP. So you can actually migrate your Gmail. Outlook, that's the normal Outlook email, it supports IMAP. You can actually use IMAP migration for this. And for Gmail, right, I just mentioned Gmail. If you want to probably migrate your single Gmail account, it's because I don't have a test Gmail account. If not, I would have probably used Gmail for this. Why I wanted to use Gmail is because when you want to use Gmail, you might have issues with this IMAP migration. Why you will have that issue is because you have to go to your all settings, then go to forwarding and enable IMAP access. If you don't enable it, first of all, it will not work. Then secondly, you might have issues with authentication. I'm just saying this just in case you want to try to Gmail. You can easily just Google exactly what I'm saying. You will get the answers. So if you go to, after enabling the IMAP for your Gmail, that's, you just want to migrate your single Gmail, your personal Gmail account. Once you enable the IMAP, the next thing you can do, if probably you're having issues with password, which you will see that I'm going to show you an example. If you're having issues with that, you just need to turn on 2FA for your personal account and then enable password app password, app password. So if you enable app password, what you would just do, you would use the app password instead of the normal password. That should fix the issue for IMAP migration. So for IMAP migration, you can see they are showing us the Exchange server and everything that it supports. You can see from here, it supports like virtually everything from here that we are seeing. Then if you look at the next one, is the cutover Exchange migration. So for this, we'll still go more. I think this slide still has some stuff that speaks personally about this. So I will just show you some other stuff that are related to this, each of these migration. So if you look at this now, for cutover, right, we can see that cutover migration, good for fast cutover migration. So I don't like the fact that cutover is coming in again. So I would just say it's good for fast migration of mailbox to MP65, right? So you just want to move it straight up, right? That's exactly what the cutover migration will do for you. And no migration tool or computer required. So those are the two bullet points we have for that. And if you also look at the right here, right, you would see the supported Exchange version, right? That's what we have. Then if you're also looking at the stage migration, you will see that no migration tool is also required. It requires directory sync. And this is when you don't want to, you want to migrate your users over time in batches. That's what you would use. So we'll see the number of users, that's the maximum number of users you can do for with cutover, and also we'll see what stage can do for us. So if you look at stage and cutover, right, when you're trying to do any of this migration, you have to look at this server that it will support, right? That's what you will look. Then you also look at how many users am I trying to migrate, and what's the time frame, that how do I want to migrate these users? Do I want to just be migrating them in batches over time, or I want to migrate them at once, right? You can see good for fast, that's cutover. That means if you're pushing everything at once, you can actually go with the cutover. And if you're going to be moving them out in batches, right, then you would probably be thinking about going with this stage, right, migration. Now, why I wanted to do something in the migration portal is because we are probably going to see remote move, and then we'll also see G Suite and Google Workspace before we call it G Suite, right? If you've probably used Workspace, you'll see G Suite, right? So if we want to use the Google Workspace now, for Google Workspace, right? So somebody will probably say I said Gmail, IMAP, right? The first time, personal email. So for Google Workspace, for in case you don't know what Google Workspace is all about, it just simply means now we are talking about Exchange. We point our MX to Exchange, and then we can send email. We have Google platform where we can also do the same thing. We can connect our domain to the Google Workspace and create users there, and they will send email with our custom domain, not the Gmail that you know about. So that environment is called Google Workspace. Before, it was previously called G Suite. So if you want to migrate users from Google Workspace to M365, there is already a migration that has been created in the admin center that is specifically going to handle that particular type of migration. So if you're migrating, you can use that, and trust me, it is easy and straightforward when you're using that particular Google Workspace if you have users. Now, you can as well use IMAP if you want to do this migration using IMAP. What do they call it? IMAP migration. You can as well try to use IMAP to do the migration, but we have Google Workspace there. And for the remote move, just simply means, when we are doing remote move, it just simply means we are moving a mailbox from on-prem to cloud, or from cloud to on-prem. And that's if we have like a hybrid environment. We can choose to move our mailbox from on-prem to cloud and move them back. So just in case you go to that portal and you see those extra two and you don't understand what those two they are doing there. So that's exactly what they are doing there. So if I just scroll through this slide, I just want to just finish this so that I can do exactly what the demo. Let me just see if I have. So basically what this particular place is talking about is deployment plan migration solution is part of plan. So it's just basically stuff you need to prerequisites, things, you know what planning is all about. If you want to travel somewhere, you probably need to start asking yourself, will I need this? Throw it away. Do I need this? Is this going to, if I get to the airport, I need 23 kg. If your bag is no more than 23 kg, am I ready to pay for extra luggage and all of that? So it's just the same way. What's the size of the mailbox? IMAP, the maximum size it can take is 35, right? Okay. Do I have any mailbox that is more than that? Should I not use IMAP? You can talk about, sorry, that size is not just is the size content. I will explain that, but I'm just talking about the mailbox size now. For that part I said size. So but the size might be, is it more than 2,000 users, is it fewer than 150, and all of that, right? We can also look at all these stuffs. What do we want to do? Where is the source server? Once we've decided all of that, then we can now say, okay, let's proceed with the one we want to use. So this is migration tools. I don't know why it is not showing. Probably, okay, yeah, okay, it's showing now. So most times, right, when you're creating your endpoints, you can use this to test your endpoint, right? You can also use this to get the badge, right? Batch, the migration batch. So most times, if I'm actually trying to do migration, there's something I always see. I think that should be active. If I run this and use the FL. So once I just see that, my mind somehow, I'm like, okay, this is fine, it will go. Because sometimes once I see it hanging in that place for long, I just know that something is coming back. So you can use all these tools, right, to get information using PowerShell about what is actually happening to your migration that is ongoing. So if I do this, and you can also use it for the ones that are completed also. So let me just go now. So this is just probably going to be talking about IMAP, which I've spoken about, but I just want to pick out some of the key stuffs that is involved. So for migration, when we're talking of IMAP, right, you can see mail messages, right? Maximum of 5,000 items, right? It is possible to exclude specific folders, for example, deleted items. So this particular place, right? I don't want to go in depth in all of these bullet points, right? But for this particular part, what it just simply means, if I'm probably migrating a mailbox, I can choose to specify what I want to migrate. I can say it's just the inbox I need. I don't need the other part. I can choose to pick the folders that I want to migrate. And when we are doing IMAP migration, what we should also note is you cannot migrate the contacts, you can migrate calendars, tags. So this particular stuff is very important. Why I'm saying it is very important is, if you probably go for all this, probably you do gigs in Upwork and all of that. Some people, they'll tell you they want to migrate, and they'll specifically state it that we need our calendars to be migrated and contacts. So so this is part of the planning I was still talking, you see it's connected. If you go for that project and you run it with IMAP, just know that you've dumped their contacts and other stuff. So that's just it. Excluded folders with a forward slash, right, in the name, right? It would it won't take this. Then messages larger than 150 MB, right? It would not accept it. So let's now go to the next one. And this is the cutover also. Okay, this is still just basically what it is doing. Let me see. Yeah, so for this particular one is still telling us mail messages and folders. This is what will be migrated, rules and categories, calendars, contacts and tags. You can see this is actually taking more. And I made mention of Google Workspace, right? If you're going to migrate. Why I made mention of that is, if you want to actually migrate from your Google Workspace, it would be advisable you use that particular the particular migration endpoint that is there, because with that you will be able to migrate your contacts and calendar and all of that. So that's why it is better you actually use that particular one. So the next thing we'll be looking at is out of office settings, delegate and folders permission, Outlook settings, e.g. all of this. Then not migrated, security groups. So this is just telling you what will not be migrated. So I will try to drop the link where probably we can get an overview from Microsoft documentation. I'll see how much I can get, then I will drop it. So that's for the cutover. So for the stage migration, did it put the number of users? I'm trying to see if it gave me that. Okay, I will just have to pull up the document so we can see it. I will search for a document because that is also very important. So for stage, right, what is going to happen in stage, right? You can see they're telling us we can create batches and maximum of 1,000 users in each CSV. So this one actually stated that, but let's just see what we can do. So if we look at this, we can see what we can actually do. We will messages and folders, rules and categories, calendars, contact tags, out of office settings, delegates. So this is actually what will be migrated, and we can see what would not be migrated there. Dynamic distribution list, systems, mailbox, dumpsters, senders permission, messages larger than 150 MB. So while I was talking about that, I was still trying to just check for something. I didn't see it in this slide. So for cutover migration, right, it will support up to 2,000, right? And remember, if you're migrating, you're moving the mailbox at once, right? And it supports up to 2,000, but it is best for 150 or fewer mailbox, but it supports up to that, right? So for stage, right, stage migration, remember we already spoke about the servers that that's the source messaging system, the server we can migrate it from. So for stage migration, we can do a lot more with stage migration because we'll be doing them in batches, right? And you can see from that CSV, we can do like 1,000, and when we send that one, we can keep doing more. But it is recommended for mailbox that is more than 150. So the recommendation states that if it is more than 150, then you can go for stage migration. But if it is less than 150, best for 150 or fewer. If it is less than 150, then we can always go for the cutover migration. So for IMAP, basically what we just have is 500,000 items maximum. That's what is there. And remember, we can also do migration between two M365 tenants. That's cross-tenant migration. We can as well do migration. So I would end this slide, and so that I just go and do the demo I want to do now. So for the demo, right, before we do the demo now, what I want to do, I want to look for one of my mailbox right now. So just give me like a minute. I think it's the same mailbox I used there because that's the mailbox I think I can just open the inbox right here. So let me open that mailbox now so I can show you what it looks like in that mailbox. So this is the mailbox coming up. So, yep, I have this mailbox up now. So this is the mailbox here. So basically, if you look at this mailbox, right, I want to migrate everything in this mailbox, right, to my M365. So there are some stuffs I need to do, right, before carrying out this migration. But I just want you to look at the mailbox. If you look at orders, because stuffs from here will probably be going to the inbox when I do the migration. So if you look at this, this is the mailbox. And if you look at this, this is the email, right? So this is the jesoltech@outlook.com. So this is the mailbox I want to migrate. Now, before I start anything with migrating this mailbox, I need to create a user that will be accepting the mailbox content. So I need to provision a user. I just said I want to create a mailbox, but I need to have a user that I'll be moving the mailbox content into the user's mailbox, right? So if I come here and I create a new user, I would just say this is Harry or Daniel. Oh, perhaps it's just always. This is Daniel, Ariel, still the same thing. So I am creating this user and I will just say this is Dan. And do I need, okay, so I will just leave this password, but I will access this user mailbox with this account that I'm using. I think Joshua already covered that, so we'll see what is actually going to happen. So I need to give this user a license. No, let me just do this. I'll take off someone's license. So I'll just create this user. So I'm done creating this user. I would Itoje can do the job. So I need to assign this user a license. So where is Dan Ario? Yeah. So this is Dan Ario. I would Itoje. So I've assigned this user a license, and let me just refresh this page. Okay, this is Dan, and I would come to mailbox. So I'm waiting for his mailbox to be prepared. While I'm waiting for that, what I will do next is I will go there and start creating the migration that I need to create. So now I would start with naming this migration, give the migration batch a unique name, So I'll just say IMAP. Let me use this, migrate. And now select the mailbox migration path. So this is coming to Exchange Online. Remember, if we're using that remote move, we can do, we can do both ways, right? So, but what we are doing here, we are moving this to Exchange Online, and then I'll go next. Now it's telling me the type of migration. So this is exactly what I was taking my time to just explain. And I was telling you, probably not see this. You probably not see this in that slide, right? And probably if you even Google types of migration in the documentation, you might not see this remote move listed. So that's why I explained what is actually happening there. So you can see the stage migration, you can see the cutover migration, you can see the cross-tenant migration. This is the Google Workspace bracket Gmail migration, and then we have the IMAP migration. So for what I'm about to do now, I'll be using the IMAP migration. I've already explained this, right? Now, all these stuffs I explained, this is to me is just like the surface. It is more than all of this. There are more stuffs you need to just still go and take a look at if you really want to get familiar with migration. So you can just go through the documentation and get familiar with it. And I will also advise if you can set up Exchange server, is all good. I know this is just M365, but if you can set up Exchange server with reading stuffs and all of that, it is also like very good. And it does also depending on your machine. So, but it's not something you should stress yourself about. You can start with what I'm doing now. This one is something you can do. So I just selected the IMAP migration, and then when I go next, I would see the prerequisites, and then you can read, right? Create your users. So all of this is what you need to do, right? So you can see create your users in M365. You might need to add a domain, right? Find the full name of your current email server, create a migration that contain a list of mailbox and all of that. So we'll just go next. And once we get to next, now this part is where I need to create an endpoint. So I don't have any endpoint. Okay, I have an endpoint. I can probably use this endpoint, right? Because it's the same thing here, but I don't want to use it. So I will create a new endpoint. So if I go to create a new endpoint, if I go to next, so endpoint is just how can this Microsoft communicate with the IMAP server that I'm trying to migrate from. So that's exactly what I'll be doing with the endpoint. So now we have maximum concurrent migration. Now I'm just leaving that as the default, right? And the incremental sync, I'll leave that as the default. But now I'm going to name this, what can I give this? I'll just say migrate. So I'll give this migration endpoint a name. So when I go next, now this server is, you can actually Google for the servers, right? We have for Google, we have for Outlook. So since I'm using Outlook, I have to get the one for Outlook. So if I just check for IMAP server for Outlook, I should be able to pull that up. So let me just let me search here and bring the link, IMAP. So normally, if you're actually checking for it, it's something that you can know, because for Outlook is outlook dot office365.com, and Gmail is Gmail should be imap.gmail.com. But you don't need to put it in your brain. Just do what I want to do now. So imap server Outlook. So let me do this. So if I probably see it in, so why I'm looking for it in Microsoft Documents, just give me a minute. So I somehow I always put them in my head, but I just want you to know that it is out there, because the port also 93 and all of that that I'll be using 993 and all of that. You should be able to understand how I'm getting it, so you can always check for it. Okay, I found one. Yeah, I think this should be helpful. Okay, let me use this. So I was just going through like the best of the best that sites I could get it from. So this site is a good answer. So yeah, so this is Microsoft, right? So you can see IMAP setting. So this IMAP and POP, I think I don't know if Joshua did that, but basically when we are talking of IMAP, right? You know, I spoke about SMTP. SMTP is just how do we send this email, right? The protocol that is responsible for sending this email. Then when we want to access this email, what is the protocol that is responsible for us to access this email? That's where you see IMAP and POP. So they have different versions. So this is IMAP 4 that I'm using now, but the difference between the two is for POP, right? If I'm trying to access, let me use the word access, right? Because I spoke about we are sending the email with SMTP. It's responsible for sending the email. Then how do we access or retrieve this email, right? Then the IMAP and POP is we are talking about them. So if we're using the POP, right? POP, what it does is that we can choose to download this email from the server, and when we are downloading it, we can delete it directly from the server. So if we are trying to access this email, we can get it and still delete it from the server. And if we leave the computer that we're probably using, right, we will have to do the same thing in a fresh computer. But for IMAP, and if we go to a new computer, if we've deleted it from the server while we are probably downloading it, we can't access that mail anymore. So, but for IMAP, we can manage our inbox, manage everything. We can view the message and we can control the message from our inbox, but we are not really deleting it from the server. So you can still read more about them, IMAP and POP. So sometimes if you want to probably connect your normal Gmail to Outlook, you can actually go and get the IMAP settings for it and just put them there and set it up, right? If you want to do that, most times I think IMAP is actually the best I would recommend you should use. So if you look at these settings now for Outlook, the server endpoint, this is what I'll be using. Now, this place is already great because you can see it is coming with the ports and it's telling me this is for SSL. So I will just take this guy here and I'll paste it here. That's the server. And I'll leave all of this encryption. I'll put it in SSL, right? And if you look at the port, I did not do anything to the port, but if you notice something in the port, you will see that it is the same thing with what is here. So I'm just going to skip that, right? And then I'll go next. When I go next, yeah, so endpoint has been created. So if you create this endpoint, I'm just looking at time, but you can as well go to, if you look at my slide, it had test migration server availability. Yes, you can use that command there to test this endpoint. And if I want to test it, let me just type the command. I would not log into Exchange Online. So for you to confirm that when you're doing that on your own, so what you would do, you just install the modules. We spoke about modules, and I think in the last training, Joshua installed modules and then he connected to Exchange Online. That's, you type connect. Let me just type this, but you have to install the module. So you just go and type connect. I'm just showing you just in case you want to check those batches and everything. Connect Exchange Online. Yes, this should be correct. So once I'm done doing that, that command I used, which was test, I will still open the document to confirm it. Test migration server available. Please, for the English, this is availability I want to type. My brain has started mixing. Okay, I think it should be B, availability. So once this is what we would use to check it. Now, if we want to use this command now, all we just need to tell this command is that this is IMAP, and then we can put in, I think I copied that now. We'll put in the remote. Still need to confirm this. It's just that I'm trying not to waste time. Remote server. So let me use this and just Google because of spelling. So I would just confirm the spellings here. So this command, right? This is what you would use. So I would go online and check. I think this should be correct, but I'll go online and still check it to confirm if there's any change in what I just typed, right? If it is not correct, I would send it immediately after the training to the group. But what this is going to do is just going to check this endpoint for us. I don't want to do it now. So if I was doing it, I would have probably used PowerShell to get exactly what I want. So just try to run that command. You should get what you want. So now at this point here, we need to arrange our CSV file, because now this is where we need to arrange CSV file for our source and target. Now, our source is going to be the Outlook, my personal Outlook, and the target is going to be the user I created in M365 that I assigned license. So we need to arrange that in a CSV file. So I will arrange the CSV file, but I would not show you when I'm saving it because I would need to put the password of that my personal email. So you have to put in the password for the email. So once I want to do that, instead of me going to create that CSV file, I can get a template with just the header, right? You know, the first role is the header, right? I can get a template with just the header, or I can get a template that has sample user, so I can actually see what I need to do if I'm actually doing the correct stuff. So let me download. Okay, this is downloaded and open. Okay, sorry. This is not what is opened. Okay, yeah, this is it. So this is it. So now that we have this, if you look at this, this is the email for my tenant, which is the target email, right? Where I want the content to move to. And if I look at this, this is my email, my personal email, and the password for my personal email will be here. So I'll just delete this. I'm taking this guy off. So now that email I created, let me just come here. So this is the email I created. Let me just check mailbox provisioning. And so that delays. Okay, the mailbox is provisioned, and yeah, this is 0% of 2 point something KB over 100. So let me copy this, and I'll copy this and paste it here. So my Outlook, right, is going to be for the password. This password is the password of this particular account, not this. So this one, I'm just putting the email, but this account here, I need to have permission to be able to move it. So that's why I'm putting the password. So I said, if this was Gmail, right? If you have a test Gmail that you can use, it's not going to do anything to your Gmail. So the test Gmail, I just simply means is I don't want to open my mailbox, start going to the settings and be enabling IMAP. I'll be showing my mailbox, right? So, but what I just simply means is if you have one, just go there, go to that all settings. There's a gear button here. Once you see forwarding, enable IMAP, enable authentication, then create app password. You can probably just Google how to create app password. So you will do the same thing here. So you put this account here, then put the password of this thing here, the account here. And you would also use the endpoint. I think what is just going to change for that endpoint will be the server, which is imap.gmail.com. So now I want to just take my time to type something. Let me move this. So what I want to type now, I want to type my password, and I don't want my password to be seen. So that's the only thing I'll be changing in this CSV. So nothing that you're not going to see. So every other thing is going to remain the same. The only thing that will be changing here is the password that I'll be adding. That's what I'll change in that CSV. Then I will just rename it as M365 so that you know that's what I'm using. So let me type the password now. So I think my password is ready. So my password is ready. I want to do the saving now. So I'll save this as okay, let me just save migration. I'm saving it as migration. Where am I saving this? I hope it is in. So I've saved this. I will just close it and confirm in my computer. I just want to go to my computer and see if I have that. Okay. Yep, I have it. So now I've saved it as migration, right? And the only thing I changed was that password, but everything is okay. So I will just come here, and this is no downloads. So this is it. So I've added it now, I've imported it, and I can always skip this. So you can see one successful user. So I'll go next, and this is where we can skip folders, or we can come here to selected folders, exclude folders, include. This is the part where we can do that. You know, I stated it there when you were checking at what you could do. And then this is, you can select the time range for the migration. So we are not selecting it. We'll just go next. And now this particular part, I just basically want, once this migration is completed, who should get notification. So I can add the email address of the people that should get notified once this migration is done. And for this it just simply means manual. I will have to start the badge myself. I will probably go to this dashboard and start it and all of that, right? I can put a time when this batch will start and end time and all of that. The time zone, I can as well choose that. So once I do that, I'll click save, and once I click save, successful, so I'm done. So at this point, this is where we start using the get migration batch with PowerShell. Then you can put pipe and use FL. I don't want to log in. Okay, I think I can probably log into PowerShell now. It should it should, because this might take me some time to complete. Okay, so what I would do, I would log into PowerShell, and when I do that, let me just open PowerShell on the screen. So why I'm saying that is I think I can use that as wait. I'm supposed to even do that like fast. So let me pull this and say so I want to hit enter on another screen because I don't know the account I'm actually logged in with that I did not delete. So I don't just want it to show. So, but what I'm doing basically is I'm logging into the exchange online. So I just want to be sure. Okay, yeah, thank God I removed it. So I do some work for some companies, and I don't want to make their account showing that okay in this training. So I want to pick the password for this account. Okay, I am just going to log into this account. So there's nothing serious I'm doing. I'm just signing into the account, and I'm trying to, once you want to sign in, it will just show you previous accounts that you were using to sign in. So this is me signing in. I just passed that part. So I would put my password now. So this is this account I'm using. So I'll sign in. So once I'm done, I'm inside the exchange. So yep. So now this is the point where I want to do the get. Oh, am I typing? Get. Why I'm doing this is so that before I'm done, we don't have to be waiting. So I'll just do this first, right? So you can see it was Outlook. Okay, so lucky for me is this is the one that has the error. So this one is still synced with error. So this one is still syncing. So we are still on point. And what next do I need to do? So if I do the pipeline and just let me just see if it is. So if I do that pipe, right, format list, let me see where is. Oh, completed. Sync with. Okay, no, this is not it. That was fast. I would have just piped it for the other one. Let me see. Yeah, so this is the one. So waiting. So I don't like this waiting. This waiting is what I don't like. So I'll just refresh it and wait. So you can see this is what we are doing now. It's actually showing waiting state, and I don't like that waiting state. Yeah. So this state here is complete. So I would let me just hit this again and just scroll down. If it will change, it's still on waiting. Was there any mistake? So there's nothing happening, but I don't just like seeing waiting. No, it's just the personal stuff. So at this point, this is where the sync is going to be happening. We can come in here to just see what is actually happening with the migration batch. We can refresh. Let me go back here. You can see it's still showing syncing, and let's just wait for the syncing. And most times I will just come here and be looking at the mailbox. I'll be seeing if anything is happening here. So this can be changing, but then it will still fail. So this is not a guarantee that it would work, right? So you can just be looking at this particular place. So, but you can see the size increased a bit. So sometimes we just see the size increasing, but that's not like something that will tell you, oh, it's going to work. So let me just do this. Yeah, I need to put, okay, sorry, I think I need to put in the migration that I'm doing. So let's just wait. There's no need for me to even put that. Let me just still check this and see. Oh, it's still waiting. Yeah, so this is where we'll just give it some time, and in few minutes we should know the result. So if this fails, I will see completed, and you'll see this one here that will be failed. So but this guy, I think he went right. I don't know why it was showing like this, but probably this was, so you will see the data that synced and all of that. So let me give this some time again and refresh. So while this is actually doing what I want to do, I will go to Outlook with this particular account. When I go to Outlook, what I would do next is, you see this account, I would give permission for this mailbox. Let me see if this is still moving. Okay, this is not going. So I'll give the permission to this other guy, was his name, mode admin, that I'm logged in with. I'll just give permission to his mailbox, and yeah, so why I'm doing this is so that I can actually see, instead of going to log in to this account, there's no need to copy that. I can actually access this person's account. So this is what I would do: open another account, and then I would type that's done. That was done. What did I use there? I don't know why it's not saying this done. Okay. So now I'm in Dan's mailbox. So you can see that the mailbox is empty at the moment. So I will just let's just give this. I think this should be done in 5 minutes. If it's not done in 5 minutes, that means something has broken, because it's not supposed to take that long. As I'm just doing one mailbox. So if it's taking more than 5 minutes, then I think something is wrong. But yeah, everything from my end has been done. So I'm waiting to know why it should not work. So I will get details of what is actually causing the error. I'll probably see that maybe the password, like I'll see what is actually causing the error, and I can always go and fix it. So let's just refresh and go back here. So another thing I can as well do, let me just delete this guy. I don't need him. So by 5:20, I should be done with this migration. We'll just see answers. We'll just see about the answers, or you can try it. Trust me, if you try it, you should get everything working, right? If you do the same thing, use the same values I'm using, carry, or the only way you would need to do more is if you're using Gmail. But if you're using probably Outlook, that everything, the IMAP server is just straightforward, the password straightforward, you should get yours working. So I'll just keep refreshing this and waiting to see if it will tell me something is bad or something is good. So let me still just check whether I'm still waiting. I actually don't like that waiting anytime I'm doing the migration. Am I still seeing? Oh, still waiting. Mm, this waiting is, so if you do yours, just write type this command. You should probably see active here. If you see waiting here, just know that the wait will be wait. Oh, let me go back. So by 5:20, like I said, I'm done with this migration and we would probably get the result. So while this is also working, let me just confirm that command I typed to check the endpoint. So I think I can actually just confirm it with my PowerShell that is turned on. Okay. Yeah, so this is actually the correct command. So this tested endpoint, yeah, is valid. So and the result is success. So this is actually the correct command. So I can just drop it for you if you want to try yours with probably Gmail or another endpoint. So that was correct. So I'm just waiting for 2 minutes. If this guy is not done, we'll hear results. Let me come here and just refresh this page. Somehow I always just use here to monitor and see, is anything happening here? So nothing is happening here. Oh, okay, this has moved. Um, yeah. So most times when you're doing this on a live event, it looks as if there's a delay because if you're doing it, you can just probably go and do something else and then you come back and get whatsoever you need to get. So for this waiting, I am not comfortable with it. So let's just see.
Unfortunately, we are having waiting. So
so,
yeah, I think you've actually done everything that we need. It's
yeah,
probably just
so
taking longer than usual.
yeah, normally. So that's why I said we should probably just end the training instead of just waiting. Because if you probably go and do
Yeah,
it on your own, you just need to do what you're doing, then come back. And if you come
exactly,
back, you would see the error. It will tell you, oh, we could not do this because this actually happened. And yeah, you can still go back and edit whatsoever you want. You can see details. And
exactly.
yeah, so there's nothing much left at this moment, so you can try this out, everyone, and yeah, you should be good to go. So if you want to probably go one step higher and try stuff, then you can go and see what the cutover look, or just even if you don't want to see what the cutover looks like, I think maybe just go to see what hybrid looks like, right? Read about hybrid, then you can now start testing other ones. So for today, today, right, I think I'll be coming to an end with this session here. And yeah, and that's all for the migration that you've been hearing about. But it is more than this. It is just what, yeah. So
Yeah,
Deji,
thank you
you
very
can take over.
much. Yeah, thank you, Solomon. Thank you, everyone. So, yes, we've actually done a migration, and like Solomon has said, everything that we need to do has been done. This it's the syncing status that we see on the screen shows that a lot is happening in the background, in the back end. So, if the migration failed, we're going to see the error, and then it's going to one good thing about Exchange Online is it will show us and it give us some information as to why we're having a failed migration, and then we can go and resolve whatever issue it is and then come back. But based on everything that Solomon actually showed, I'm not expecting that we're going to get an error. So yeah, you can always go back and try out your test migration, and yeah, you know that's probably going to be a first test migration that you would perform by yourself. And if you've been hearing, oh, migration, it's not that complicated. It's just that you need to do or fulfill all the necessary prerequisites and requirements. And once that is done, you are good to go. You're good to go. So that is that for today. I believe that we've actually learned a lot. Personally, I have also learned a few things, and just like Solomon said, a lot changes within Microsoft. And then if you do migration last month and you want to do this month, you will just see something different. So you want to make sure that you are keeping yourself up to date with the Microsoft documentation as regards what is latest, what has changed, so that you are not caught unaware. Right. So I want to throw, the house open for questions and answer. So if we have any questions, this is the time for us to ask. This is the time for us to ask. So I don't know if there's any question from the house. Okay, I see Ario. Okay, Ario, yeah, let's have your question. You can unmute and speak.
Hello? Yeah. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening. So I actually have a couple of questions, ranging from the on-premise exchange.
So your voice is actually fainting. I think you
Okay.
need to speak to the mic.
Is it better now?
Okay.
Okay, so I said I have a couple of questions ranging from the on-premise exchange to the cloud platform. So the first question is for the on-premise exchange. How or where is the data stored? I think I saw you open a folder the other time or something. I didn't understand this. How exactly is the data stored?
That's the when you say
The
the data, that's
mailbox.
the mailbox. Yeah, you
Yes.
create a database for the mailbox on the server. So that mailbox that database is in my local DXC. So you can even have another server that can do the work of your database. So that's the database that is holding the mailbox. And if I'm creating a new mailbox, right, you can create up to 2 or 3 or more database. And when you're creating a user, you would always select the mailbox that the database that you want the user to be using.
Now, what platform is the database created on?
No, you don't. It's not like a platform. It's just a location in my server. It's not like I'm creating SQL database. Like I just created a location and said, okay, this is where I want my
to be stored.
database. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just let me just go to the second question.
Okay. Sorry, Ario. Before you ask the second question, let me just mention something regarding your first question. So,
okay.
One benefit of Exchange Online is that all your data is stored in the cloud. But in an on-premise environment, it means that everything, all your emails that your users send within your organization, everything is residing on premises in that your office where you are. So that is one disadvantage, because we've had situations whereby there is a natural disaster or there is power outage in your office, and then all of a sudden people can no longer access their emails because the server is down. So all the emails that is going in and out within your organization is actually residing in probably your server room somewhere, just one big stack of computer. The emails is residing in a folder in one of those computers. So it's not like everything that is going on is being saved on in a location on the computer. You get what I'm saying? But for Exchange Online, you don't need to worry about all those things. It is residing on the cloud. So that's one major difference between both of them. Okay, so you can ask the second question.
All right, thank you. So,
Hello.
can I go on?
Hold on.
MJ, do you want to?
Yes,
you want to
I
add
wanted
something?
to. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Exchange has its own database engine inbuilt with it. That's what I want you to first have at the back of your mind. Whether it is okay, sorry, it's faint. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
we
I can
can
hear
Can
you.
you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So Exchange, whether on-premise or whether it's in the cloud, have its own database engine. That database engine is actually what keeps every copy of your mailbox and any mail or anything, even whatever you do. But the difference, just like they've explained these days, Exchange is role-based before now, even the one, so it's role-based. You have the mailbox server role with it, which is what is responsible for your mails and all of that. But today, you have some roles collocated before, unlike from the previous version. Previous version, you would have had something like client access role, up transport role, which is responsible for mail flow, client access role, which is responsible for you to be able to, for mapping client connectivity, e.g., like your Outlook to connect. That's like the client access role. That's what is responsible for. Things like your OA, that's what is responsible for. But what Microsoft has done now is to collapse all of those roles as they continue to bring new version of Exchange out. So today, the Exchange server you have today, the version you have, only have one mailbox server role, and then probably with the edge. So you have all of those other roles now in it, in a way like services. So when you talk about database, there's a database engine, but it's not like SQL. So Exchange has its own unique database. I just want you to have that understanding. So whether it resides on premise or in the cloud, there is a database. The difference really is that for on premise, you can still achieve what you have on Office 365, but it will cost you more. It means that you will need to have multiple servers that can do what is called failover. That's when you have your Exchange server in what is referred to as a redundant mode, or in a redundancy mode, or in a failover scenario where you have multiple Exchange servers, where if one mailbox server is down, it can actually fail over all the mailboxes on that server to another. That can be within a site. So what is the drawback with that? It's still a single site failure. Let's assume the whole site is what happens. Some organization before Office 365 came in, we have another data center somewhere. So when you're talking to a customer, this will help you to drive home the benefit of saying migrate to the cloud. Because if you want to achieve uptime, like the 99.9% uptime for your organization, nothing says you can attempt it, you can't have it, but it is more costly. So for some organization, just like I said, they will have another data center, replicate the same server, replicate another set of server with the Active Directory. That's why you have multiple sites scenario. And then if your primary site goes down, you can actually fail over. Some others, I'm just giving you because of deployment I have done. Some we make it complex again and say we want to have 3 sites because we want to have automatic failover. For you to have an automatic failover today, you have 3 sites. But if you have just 2 data centers, that is 2 different data centers in different locations, you will still have it. You may not be able to have the automatic failover, that is site failover. You will have to do it manually in case. But if there is a third site, that third site is what we had as what is called a witness. So I'm trying to help you here. So what Microsoft has done, because they own the product, they've created multiple sites. So believe me, your database is somewhere. I mean, your mailbox is residing in one database. So, but what Microsoft has done with its own multi-tenancy approach is that we can have our data, you can have your database spread across multiple mailbox server. So they have to be the one now to worry about the uptime. It is still the same architecture that you have on-premise Exchange that you have in the Exchange online. The only difference is you are not bothering about uptime. You're not bothering about availability. It's Microsoft business. But they have multiple Exchange servers spread around, and a copy of your mails are spread in several data center or even regions. So that if this region goes off, within a site itself, you have what is called high availability, which means that the server itself will be highly available from storage, from network, from even the database itself. They will be highly available. They will have multiple copies. Then you will have it against across site, which is what is referred to as site resilience. That is, Microsoft has put all of that in place. So you will never notice, even if where your primary mailbox is fails, it will fail to another place. But that all Exchange server, whether on-premise or the cloud, they all have a database engine that they all stays into, because there is no way that, I mean, your mails will be floating. Do you get? There's no way it will be floating. So even the same concept is what, whether Google today, whether it is G Suite, whether it is Yahoo, all of them use the same concept. Their database engine may just be different, but all of them have a unique database that they store emails. I hope that helps. So that's
Yeah,
just
it
what I
showed
want.
us. Showed us. Thanks
All right.
for the explanation. So now my next question. Having for premise, having physical servers is definitely one of the requirements now from explanations. Now the next question is, what are the set up on premise apart from having servers to store the database? Is there any other requirements apart from just the Exchange software itself? Is there anything required to set it up on premise? Like any associated software that has to be installed first before you install the Exchange or something?
For what I would say you can call associated software are just features in Exchange, right? If you before you install it, just go and Google prerequisite for Exchange Server 2016, 2019, 2020. Now those prerequisites, they have all these Virtual Studio, C++, all those stuff. They have specific things you need to install, right? And then you also need to prepare your AD and all of that if maybe you're installing it on a server that doesn't have the Active Directory installed. Like me, you see, mine doesn't have, I think that was not where my AD was, right? I just went there and said, okay, I want to install the Exchange server. I had the application, then the prerequisite, the features that I needed, I installed all of that. You know, they're on Microsoft website. So then I started preparing the AD, and after preparing the AD, then I ran the software itself. That's the server itself. I had the ISO image. I just mounted it and then I installed it. So once you're installing it, from there you just have to be following next and the rest of it. You can choose to install it with command PowerShell if you want. Browse to the location. That's / and do your stuff. But there's no external software, I would say. It's just some dependencies that you need to install, and it's still within Microsoft.
Okay. So thanks for that. Now my next question is when you showed us the one you installed on the virtual machine, then
sorry. Let me so before Ariel, yes,
okay.
that's fine. If you're planning to establish hybrid with it, you have to have it. You have to use what is called a third party. A third party certificate. So that has to be part of what. So if you are talking about any external thing, that's the only thing I think you will need. For if you want
that's
to
for the SSL.
SSL certificate,
Okay.
you will need a public one for you to establish your hybrid. And definitely you will need to have a domain name that you have registered for you to be able to establish. And I mean, just like you have an external domain name that you have registered that is routable, so to say, let me use the right word, that is routable on the internet that you have. And then probably maybe you create all other your records, the necessary records on your internet service, your DNS provider, the domain hosting provider, you create all of those ones. So that's just to add to what Solomon is saying. I think Sheyi's hand is up. I don't know whether he wants to add. to what we are saying.
So before you go, Ario, just in case you want to do like what I need to do, right? I mean, you just want to send it within your internal network, just like mine.
Okay.
You don't need to stress
Okay.
yourself for the certification. That's if you want to just do the setup. But if you want to just go beyond that, yeah, you would need the domain. You also need the certificate.
Certificates.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to need to have a public IP on the server hosting the exchange, or the public IP
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
firewall
That
is enough.
public IP can actually be a problem, because when you want to use your SMTP port so that you can send your email out, public IP will be a problem. Why I'm saying it will be a problem is because your IP will be changing for your and just to make something clear, most ISP, especially in Nigeria, they'll block port 25. So you might not be able to send anything out. So you might have that issue. But I think if you use Azure VM, I've not used Azure VM, it's always on my thing.
No,
And
if we
lucky
use
for me,
Azure VM, if you use Azure VM, it will need to go through SendGrid. So we make use of SendGrid as what to,
okay.
because Azure VM also block SMTP traffic. So
Oh,
what you will
okay.
do is that it will, yes, except you are using an EA subscription. If you are using an EA
Okay,
subscription,
no,
you can prove.
okay.
You
Okay,
can,
okay, okay,
if
I
you are
get.
using an EA subscription, you can build exchange on it. But if you are using all the pay as you go or the field trial or the ones, so you have to use, you can route your mails through SendGrid because of the public IP address. So SendGrid will be sending the mail on your behalf, and you can still establish your hybrid.
Yeah. So
It's a
just put
complex
that in mind.
deployment, Sha. Just put that in
Yeah.
mind. It's a complex deployment.
Because you have to be doing ports like me, this one that I'm doing, right? I have to, if I want to send the mail out, right? If I want it to be accessed from the internet, that means I still need somebody to be able to access the OA also from the internet. That's the Outlook. That's users, not just people. So I have to also set up my port forwarding. You have to also do probably your text record with your IPs and all of it. So why me, I can still do most of those stuffs is because, one, the ISP I'm using, lucky for me, I don't have issues with port 25. And also the public IP I have like about two. One, they just give it to you, like take public IP, be holding it. And the other one, before they'll change it for me, which is one thing I enjoy, is it can last maybe 2 weeks or more before my IP changes. So if you want to probably do it, it's actually complex, to be frank, but it's something you can achieve.
Oh. Thank you very much. Because I'm just wondering right now how our organizations who are still running on premise exchange doing all this.
No, that one they are dealing with the ISP now. Your own is your house. Organization in Nigeria.
No, what I'm actually aiming at is actually in an enterprise. I'm not talking about private.
Okay, no, in an enterprise, this you might not need to
ISPs
worry
give you
about.
static IPs.
Yeah,
Static
yes.
IPs.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Now,
what I'm
static
saying.
IP, does the server have to have one, or it is okay to just have it on your firewall or router, and then post forward it to the server?
So you can actually use that from your router also. If that's where the server is passing through, you can actually use it and use, like, that's what I'm doing now. You use the port forwarding.
Port forwarding, yes, to point it
Yes.
to the
So
server.
you pass it, yes, exactly. You pass it through port forwarding. Just put the ports there. So the same way with even the OA I was talking about, I'll just put 80 there. Put it, create DNS on my server, right? First of all, I'll create the DNS on the server for maybe mail dot whatsoever, then use the public IP and just I'll just use port forwarding, saying, okay, destination should be coming into this server. I'll use the internal IP of the server that has the stuff installed, put the port, yes, and send it there. Exactly. So you just create that your, yes, you can use that your port forwarding. Yeah. So if you use port forwarding, you'll get it. Just the same way you do IIS, right? When you have a web and that you want to send out, you can just You just use all those port forwarding, or maybe you want to access something on a particular port, it will work. But before you do that, also, you just have to use telnet so that you don't stress yourself. You telnet the ports and all of that.
All right, thank you. So the next one is migrating to the online, the exchange online. The mailbox you're migrating to has to already exist, already exist.
For cutover, it will push it for you. Cutover is pushing it, then you just go and license it. It depends on what you're actually doing. So
like
for cutover,
the account you are moving it into already has to exist.
For cutover, you're moving the mailbox.
Let me help you. Let me help.
Okay.
Talking about where you're moving it into.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So the first thing you are doing, that's why you have AD Connect. Your AD Connect would have synced to your users. And then when you're also installing AD Connect, there is what you also check the hybrid configuration. I don't know whether when you were there when, what was his name? Solomon was doing that. When he was installing AD Connect, we'll show you a place.
Yes.
Apart from the features, there will be an hybrid. That hybrid is actually for the exchange. Now, what that needs to do is to create what is referred to as the necessary attributes on the synced account from your AD to Azure AD. Now, those attributes are email attributes like your Xbox, what they call it? They're coming and going. If you look, so like they are just email attributes. If you go into even exchange, AD right now, and I pick a user, you will see the attributes that are related to
that's
email.
The MX exchange, yeah.
Yes, all those MS exchange attributes. So that MS exchange attributes already exist with the synced user. So when you establish an hybrid and you're doing a remote move, the mailbox reside on premise, but now you are moving that mailbox to the cloud. To exchange, what is going to be looking for is going to be looking for that attribute to do what is called matching.
Okay.
And then it matches with it and now match your mailbox. And that is, it picks that mailbox from on-premise and puts it in the cloud. And then convert what you have on-premise to a mail user.
Okay.
So that means your mailbox is no longer residing. Hybrid is still in place. That's the reason, the main reason really you use hybrid. For you to establish hybrid is mostly for what? For mailbox migration and free busy. Other than that, if I have a mailbox in the cloud and I have another one on premise, creating a connector, they can still send mail to each other. That is possible. But if I want them to share free busy, and that's when I establish hybrid. The free busy I'm talking about, I can see the status of your own calendar. You can see the status of my own calendar. You can see, I can share my calendar with you, and then it can allow you to do what? Free mailbox, easy mailbox migration. Because for you to migrate mailbox to the cloud, it doesn't mean that even from an exchange on premise, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do hybrid. But hybrid simplified the whole issue. For example, some people will say, oh, I want to migrate mailbox. And because I don't want to go all through the while of buying what they call it, public certificate and all of that, while I'm afraid I will export all my mails to PST, from on-premise, go to the cloud, create mailbox on Exchange Online and import my mails. You can still have it that way. But the drawback will be that those users will have a form of downtime no matter how. But what you have done with hybrid is that you're doing a gradual migration. So once you migrate the mailbox to the cloud, that mailbox exists does no longer exist on premise again. So you have it migrated. So what is really doing that thing that matches it? I don't know whether when you people used to talk about soft hard matching, sometimes we have it done also. Because when the entries are not the same, you can force you can force a resync, and force a resync, which is a forced resync to create those entries that are missing, so that at the end of the day the SMTP can match. So there are scenarios like that, but that maybe when I'm migrating the mailboxes, the mailbox you will do it is the one on-premise government you migrate to the cloud. So the question you're asking is that, will they create the mailbox? Where did they create it? It's not you don't worry about it. That's why it is Microsoft business. Wherever they sync your user account to, it's not your own business. Your own business is that you have with them is that you have promised me 99 uptime. I am bringing my mails over to wherever you create my mailbox. I'm syncing it and I'm syncing and I'm going. So that is, but it's not like they will create a mailbox for you.
Hello, MJ, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I said, and another thing to add, you said is Microsoft, and it is his own business to make sure he's actually pointing it to the right direction also, so that they will take it to where he's actually sending them to. So that's what I just wanted to tell you.
So sure you get Mario.
Yeah, I guess
it's not like a mailbox. It's not like a mailbox already exists for you in the cloud before you migrate to it. No, a mailbox does not exist. If a mailbox exists, you're going to have a problem. That's when you will not be doing your hard matching and your soft matching. Do you get? Because you will not have two mailboxes, one on premise. But what is really existing for you is just a synced account yet that has all the necessary email attributes that can receive now your mailbox that is coming from on premise. How that
as the once you run the AD Connect, it migrates the users to online, and then you had all the necessary attributes for them to also be able to receive their on-premise mailbox.
Yes.
Is that a summary?
And then your mailbox ceases to exist on premise when migration is completed.
Oh, really?
Although,
yes,
although you can
keep a copy on premise and then
it doesn't keep a copy. Yeah, because it is only one identity now. You can't exist in two places. So you get, but it's easy for you also to come back to on-premise, because the on-premise keeps that copy. You remember what I said, to convert it. It's not like to convert it to a mail user. A mail user is as good as a mail contact. Contact doesn't have like a mailbox.
Yeah.
Sure you get.
I guess.
If you know, I don't know whether they took. Well, I was away, so I don't know whether there is mail user, and user mailbox taking. Whether Joshua dealt with that last week. I want to believe he did that. The different kinds of mailbox you can create.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right then.
So for why I was saying I started with cutover. So everything is just a summary of everything. So why I was starting with cutover, for cutover, since directory sync is not enabled, it's more like you moving your mailbox to, like you're moving them from your on-prem to cloud, and then you just go and license them. But the attributes is still part of it. If you're using the directory sync, the mail attributes and everything, you have to just configure them. We even have this hybrid configuration wizard that you'll probably still run just to make sure everything is in place, right? Once you make sure everything is in place in your side, then you can do whatsoever you want to do. You can set up your syncing, and if you create the hybrid environment, it's more like you getting closer to saying, okay, I can deprovision the server and then just focus on-prem. So that's just basically how the conclusion of it. So Shea has been raising his hand forever. So Shea.
I think Shea has already asked this question.
Oh,
so there was a mix-up between Shea and Ario.
I was thinking. Yeah. Oh, okay, then it's fine then. So okay. I think yeah, that should be all for today.
So in the absence of no other question, I think we're going to call it a day today now. Next week we'll continue with the part 3 of Exchange Online, and then we're going to be talking about
Hello,
transport.
I didn't ask any question. I wanted to contribute. That's why my
Oh,
Because I wanted to say this is not Sheyi did not say anything. This is our Oga.
Sorry.
Oga
I
has not
They
spoken.
didn't mix up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Shay. So let's have you. What's your
So I
contribution?
just Jumoke has been what I wanted to add to it, just to point Ario to certain fundamentals.
Hello, Shay, are you there? I don't know if it's from me or everybody.
Hear me? Can
Yeah,
you?
you're
Okay,
breaking.
I
yes,
can hear
we
you
can hear
now.
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I was saying that Jumoke has done justice to the question, and Solomon. What I wanted to add there to Ario is that sometimes when you want to build S-Thing server on-prem, there are certain things apart from the features that you need, but people always forget the fact that they need to have a server installation on that particular machine. And when they ask, the few exchange is just something from the Inforia. It's just an application that you run on a server that existing on that machine. Then the feature that you have on that machine will now be used for building your application on Exchange. I just want to add that to what Ario is, what you guys have said. And also, when you talk of hybrid, now there's so many reasons why people want to go into hybrid, and you have mentioned a lot to him. Fundamentally, people want to go to hybrid because they are afraid of licensing, and most time when you go online, exchange online, you have to pay some licensing fee, which you might not have if you have existing uh, machines running on exchange. But hybrid will just give you more of an extended feature that you have on online feature of exchange, which is more modern, which is constantly changing, which constantly being modernized, which is giving you more things that Jumoke mentioned the collapse of all this role that we have on-prem, which is now more staged on exchange online, and you can easily manipulate. So just to add to what you guys have said.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shay,
Thank you very much.
for adding that. That was a good one. Okay, so our time is fast spent, and I was saying that next week we are going to be rounding up a session on Exchange Online, and we'll be looking at transport rules, message trace, and protection and security in Exchange Online. So um, till next week, let us all have a great time. So I'll see you all next week. I've enjoyed the rest of your weekend.
Mm.
Bye.
Thank you.